There were a lot of heroes, the Tibetans, who sacrificed their lives. These Tibetans, including the monks, who temporarily gave up their vows of priesthood in order to take up arms and fight the Chinese. I'm the last speaking CIA officer who can tell the story. They were all volunteers, and they were eager to come because they wanted to fight and do what they could. There was nothing, they were not paid. They were simply willing and able, and boy were they able. I got to Camp Hale for the first time in about April of 1960. I started out as a case officer who was not speaking Tibetan, giving instruction in using compass to find locations on a very special map made by the CIA. So there was radio training going on. I was not a part of the radio operators who were training the men, which was the basic function of Camp Hale in that 5-year period. But I've trained in use of the compass, using maps, observation, reports writing, how to use a camera, and some tradecraft techniques used in special contact communications. I did not speak Tibetan then, but over the next 2 years I took Tibetan language training, and I was able to make some connection in my classroom speaking Tibetan. All were given training with the M1 Garand rifle. We took them for parachute training, early morning jump training before dawn, and sometimes everybody dropped. The Tibetans dropped once, but the Americans dropped also, and we dropped with the Tibetans as they went out the door of the C-47. Okay. So they knew that we were doing what they were expected to do. If they were radio operators, they knew that they would be parachuted from an airplane going, making a secret overflight of Tibet, and they would be falling to the ground with a parachute. They were told what to expect, but they could only understand it when they got there. There was a roll call and a formation. So we knew where all was present and nobody was hiding and still asleep. And then they went into classroom work, including radio training. There was a break for lunch. They went back into training in the afternoon. In the mid-afternoon, we had volleyball. We had painting materials for the artists in the group who produced some remarkably beautiful coloring pictures. One artist in particular drew illustrations of Chinese political action themes of Chinese desecration used in CIA Tibetan propaganda pamphlets. Saturday nights we had Tibetan chow, Tibetan food. We brought in the groceries they wanted. The Tibetan had chefs who prepared a menu for all of us, and all of us ate Tibetan momos and chow palis, and we shared kegs of beer. So that was a break, and then we had movies in the rec room on a regular basis, and they loved the movie The King and I.
Royal princes and princesses.
Because it was a very exotic culture in Thailand, and the cute little children, I think, captivated them. The Tibetan trainees found the equipment, including napalm and a wooden trough, to make a missile that went off one night, and they lost control of it, and it landed on a building in a molybdenum mine by the climax gate. And so the CI officer who was in charge, it was not me, I wasn't there, had to go over and find out what the damages were, and we paid it $25,000. When they left in 1964, October, a few of them had acquired small knives and other small things that had U.S. markings on them, which they could not carry back with them. So we reluctantly had to remove those. They had to go back to India, and if they were searched, there had to be no evidence that they were anywhere near America where they could have picked up things. When President Nixon went to China to meet Chairman Mao, one of the stipulations that I understand was that Chairman Mao insisted that we terminate our relationship with the Dalai Lama. And that, of course, is misunderstood in some respects, but it gives the impression that the Americans and the CIA were taking advantage of the Tibetans. We were not. It's widely misunderstood, it's controversial, and I can understand those who feel that the Americans let the Tibetans down, and we were very sorry that it happened that way. It was somewhat of an emotional ending for all of the Americans after we had left contact and ended our training with these remarkable Tibetans. But yes, it was an emotional parting because we became very good friends with the Tibetans, and they with us. And we bonded, and we were sorry that we had to break it up the way we did. And a lot of the Tibetans who were trained on the radio teams that were parachuted in gave their lives. They were captured. Some of them went to jail, and a few of them were released in time. But there were a lot of heroes, as this will attest.